Dan Sheehan, who's a very well-respected civil rights lawyer, who was retained by the space policy advisors to the White House under President Jimmy Carter in the 1970s. He was retained to essentially help write a report for the president on what the government knows about UAPs. And he tells me this incredible story, and I write about it in my book, where after much truculent resistance by the intelligence community, it was agreed that Dan singularly could go to a secure archive in the Library of Congress, and under heavy guard, he was allowed to review for one day the microfiche of the still unreleased redacted files, the unreleased classified files of Project Blue Book, the information that the Air Force has allegedly still to this day withheld about Project Blue Book, its investigations into UFOs that finished in 1969, 1970. One of the things that Dan describes is that he realized there was no bloody way he was going to be able to read all these files in one day, because it was literally a high-speed microfiche machine and probably miles of boxes of microfiche. And so he literally just started putting random bits of microfiche into the microfiche viewer and scrolling through looking for photographs. He puts in one microfiche, nothing there, no photos. A second microfiche, nothing there, no photos. And then I think it was the third microfiche where he told me, and he stopped. And at the moment that he stopped, he realized there was a cover-up. Because there on the photograph were images of American soldiers dressed in 1940s uniforms doing a retrieval of what was clearly a craft, a vehicle, a crashed flying saucer. Now, Dan has gone on the record on this on multiple occasions, and I have confronted the people who retained him to write these reports, because the crucial point that he makes, and I say this in the book, and I put it out there waiting for somebody to contradict me, waiting to say, oh, it's wrong, it's complete nonsense. Nobody has. And one of the people that was involved in this was a woman called Marcia Smith, who was the space policy advisor to President Carter. She's now working in a private institute called the Space Policy Institute. Now, she was the one that, with Dan Sheehan's assistance, wrote the reports that went to President Carter. But Dan says that before the reports went to Carter, he was shown a copy of the final reports. And you know what? The president wasn't told what Dan had seen in the archives of the Library of Congress from Project Blue Book.
What?
The president wasn't told. Now, this is a consistent theme, because what Dan says is the reason why these reports were sought through the Library of Congress Research Department was because when Jimmy Carter became president, in the caretaker period between his election in November and the inauguration in January, he was so determined to get to the truth of the matter relating to UAPs, this is of course in the 1970s, that he summons the then director of the CIA, who just so happened to be George Bush Sr., who later on, of course, went on to become the president. He was asked by President Carter to give him a briefing about what the US government knew about UAPs. Now, we don't have Carter's word on this. Jimmy Carter won't respond to my requests for an interview, but we do have Dan Sheehan's, who's a counsel, like he's an attorney, a very well-respected civil rights attorney, who frankly would lose his practicing license if he was caught lying or confabulating.
Right.
Now, he has said this on repeated occasions. He says that he was told by Marcia Smith, President Carter's space policy advisor, that George W. Bush point blank refused to give his commander-in-chief a briefing on UAPs. God.
Ross, if the implications of what you're saying make this a far scarier phenomenon politically than scientifically, it seems like. Can you imagine the circus of a congressional hearing that would ensue if this information came to light publicly?
Well, the interesting thing is I do think congressional hearings are going to happen.
That dude almost said congressional theater.
I think we're now at the point where I think it's inevitable that there will be congressional hearings. And the issue is going to be, if people are given an assurance that under oath they are waived from their national security oath and that they can speak in confidence and probably in camera to congressional oversight committees like the Senate Intelligence Committee, the Armed Services Committee. I think it's going to be a momentous period in American history because it will soon leak from those committees that people have made admissions that contradict the narrative that the American public and the world has been given for the past 70 to 80 years.